to this new episode. And in this new episode, we are speaking of centralized AI versus decentralized AI versus centralized AGI. Now, there is a reason why we have named it decentralized AI versus centralized AGI. Because if we compare both of these apple and oranges, centralized AGI is more closer than decentralized AI, honestly. And there are few reasons for that. Because this whole space is so abstracted and there are so much that is happening in the space that it is too much to capture. And because of multiple pump and dump techniques, the industry has lost its charm that had over the years. The decentralization has eroded to a point. But today in this space, we're going to speak about how we are going to fight, how we are going to make users understand why decentralized AI is something that what we would need as users, as somebody who's building into the space. I have Lele from Kite AI with me, and I have Salman from Chain Opera with me. Glad to have you guys on this. And as the very first question, which I said that we are definitely, I was going through this report which says that in 2027, most of the compute would be owned by centralized players, and there are different agents that would be taken care by centralized players. So, do you really think, like, do we have any tangible decentralized AI apps which are out there and used by masses in right now? Like, because I don't see much. And anybody can take this question. So this is a free flowing space.
Go ahead, Salman.
Yeah, sounds good. So first, thanks, Prakash, for arranging this. It's a pleasure to be here and be with Lele. So maybe your question is about, more generally, if I rephrase it, about where do we stand on decentralization today versus centralization, and what is the hope in the future? So you're right in the sense that if you think about the most popular apps in the AI space, like, so for example, ChatGPT, the most popular AI app, Perplexity AI, these are driven by centralized entities for a good reason. The good reason you mentioned is kind of they control both the compute and the data. Like, this has been early on what is needed for training the models. On the compute side, we have seen the massive investment. That's why, for example, Microsoft is backing OpenAI. Then the same thing, huge fundraising for these companies to be able to acquire what is needed as the infra. On the data side, I think there is less of a moat in the sense that most of it, they benefited from a lot of the, community-built data. Think about projects like Wikipedia. Right, this has been built over the years and fueled the building of LLMs. So in that sense, they monetize both of these two together, right, to be able to dominate the space today in terms of the B2C apps that we are talking about. So I agree with you in that sense. If you think about, again, we are talking about apps with 100 millions of users at that scale, dominated by centralized entities. Also, even if, scaling the app by itself requires huge capital to do that. Now, doesn't it, I don't think it means that the race is lost, right? For a couple of reasons, because, what we believe is there is going to be less need for compute and, let's say, compute power for building better AI in the future. The reason for it, actually, we are seeing a glimpse of it today. For example, maybe the gap, like OpenAI has become much slower to release GPT-5, right? So there is still we are at the GPT-4. The reason being is that by dumping more compute, you are not going to get a much better model that is tangibly different. So we are seeing the saturation there. So in that sense, we should think about what is going to be driving the new type of apps, which to me is around bringing the capability of various AI models or agents collaborating together to do a workflow of tasks, not just one model solving one set of questions, but a collection of them that can do automation. And that's the concept that is emerging as super AI agent or super AI app. So Super AI app is going to be consisting of many apps or many AI models or agents working together. Think about, for example, let's say a super app that is composed of a wallet agent, market study agent, trading agent, and together they become an automated trading. So in that sense, each
Yeah.
individual one, doesn't matter who creates it, is more of the decentralization around many AI tools and models and agents to work together. So if we believe that's going to be the next wave, that next wave, having more compute and more centralization is not going to buy you necessarily a significant edge. And maybe alongside of that, that's what we are building at Chain Opera. Like Chain Opera is around creating decentralization at such a layer, and our flagship app that is not right now actually is used by millions of users, not hundreds of millions. Maybe we make it there soon. And in fact, hundreds of thousands of users who pay for it, right? So this is around the concept of decentralization of AI agents collaborating together. So I think that's where we stand as an industry and where the hope is. And I'm personally very excited and bullish. I think this race is not lost. So the short answer to your question.
Amazing. And Lele, what do you think
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah, first of all, that was it was really great to learn about Chain Opera and excited to be here speaking with Salman, and thanks for the invite, Prakash. So yeah, first a quick introduction on myself. I'm Lele. I'm the VP and Global Head of Business Development at Kite AI. And I think this is a really great intro question. So the way I think about it is, what does AI really need? So one of the biggest fears of centralized AI is lack of transparency and also trust. And that is what I think that the blockchain technology, decentralized AI space really comes to address. So if we look at where we are currently, I think of it as like AI agents are the next evolution of the internet. So back in the early 2000s, it was a very web first space. Humans on desktop, static websites. And then fast forward 10 years, it's a very mobile first environment where you can
Yeah.
use your smartphone to basically do all kinds of transactions, response, etc. And now fast forward to today and on, AI agents has been talked about everywhere from enterprises to, Web 2, Web 3 space. And there's no one is doubting that this is a space you need to really focus your attention on. But for AI agents to really be able to proliferate and also get the traction and adoption from users, I still think one of the big missing pieces is trust. How do I trust that my AI agent that I asked to transact on my behalf is spending the way I wanted to? How do I put some guardrails around it? Who created this agent? How was it created? Those are all the things that blockchain technology can be helpful in. So if I think of the current, human-centric world we live in, there's no, it's built for humans. It's not built for agents. So there's no identity for agents. The payment rails are, you need to access credit card, ACH, etc. And then there's a lot of manual authorizations that need to be done by humans. Now, for AI agents to really proliferate, whether it's human to agents or agent to agent interactions, one thing is that I think agents need some type of reputation scoring. And so this can be based on how it was created. And you can look at using blockchain technology, look at how this agent was created through what was the data or models that were ingested into creating the agent. How has its behavior been on chain? What is the identity? That identity can be stored on chain. Who is the owner? And then, of course, a lot of it is agentic payments, which blockchain rails is a perfect infrastructure for. And then smart contracts essentially create a programmable layer or service level agreement that provides guardrails. For example, you could put spending limits, or you could put various pre-authorizations on the different agents. So I think what I'm trying to say is that in order for the proliferation of AI usage, a lot of the decentralization aspects, a lot of the on-chain transparency provided through the blockchain space will help to accelerate the adoption and trust of agents.
But like agents have proved to be like, how many agents do we use like on a daily basis? You guys do that? Like, do you use any agents on like something to handle your I
Yeah.
don't know, funds would be a far-fetched example for that.
Yeah.
But
So,
let's say social accounts, which
mhm.
is way more reachable. Like, do you guys do that?
I don't use that many. I use some, but it's not like something I would trust. For example, I would trust spending $100 or a small amount and having this agent in, complete a transaction for me. But I am concerned that if I say, okay, execute this, trading like swap for me, and it goes wrong, how do I claw it back? How can I
Yeah,
have any guardrails around this? How do I know that this agent, how do I know the performance of it? That's why I think this is another reason why there's been a lot of talk about AI agents, a lot of different companies, from enterprises to trading companies. Web 2, like major Web 2 names, are very, very actively looking at this space, but it hasn't really reached adoption. Not to say we won't get there next year, but there are
yeah,
these barriers currently to like a greater pickup of adoption, yeah, or usage. But yeah, I'm curious, maybe the same question back to you guys. What do you guys use on a daily basis?
something that I figured out was a Telegram agent that I needed, like to
Hmm.
to get all the messages and create a summary of those Telegram messages. I think that is the extent I can go on right now because I don't have any private key stored, and at last, like the maximum damage, the 0 day thing that can happen, that is that I lose my Telegram. So I was comfortable with that. But that kind of possibility, like because our industry really picks up one keyword and it resells it again and again, like DeFi AI agents, and AI agents doing multiple jobs and swarms and all of these. I think you guys can know, like when you go through CT, you see that there is insane thing happenings on the agentic side, but just on the front end. Like that's what the issues I have right now with the whole agentic space, which has been fueled. And I'm not saying that they are not useful. They are. Eventually they are. Like what type of execution that they are doing on chain and off chain from the type of data. I cannot do that. We cannot do that. Like I would not be able to find out as many. Like my memory and capacity won't serve that much even if I use an LLM. But like, what do you think of this whole spectrum of agents which has been the savior of decentralized AI, or become a thing for decentralized AI, that they're going to save it and be used on a longer term? And I would tell you why. At right now, we are coinciding with the Web2 world as well on the agentic side. They are on the same path. And that's why the whole agentic stuff has picked up, because there are financial instruments that cannot be withheld in Web2 and cannot be executed in Web2 industry pretty easily. And we can do it in Web3. And that's why we have that ability to do that. But what's your take specifically, like Silvana and Lele? Like, how are DeFi AI agents saving the decentralized AI, or like it have made things a bit messier than it's supposed to be? And I'm not gonna like cut that part out of this stream, and I'm gonna make sure like you say I'll put the whole point forward for sure.
I,
So maybe, Prakash, I can go back to your earlier question. I think the reason we don't use AI agents today, right? Definitely, as Leila mentioned, trust is one part, but I don't think it's the trust. It's kind of typically like any technology. If a centralized company comes up with a great product, people start using it, even if maybe they don't trust the mission of that centralized entity. We all use it daily, right? So you could say, why is it that there are no agents that we are using, and all of these web 2 companies are pushing for that? I feel the gap is the following. You see, the model, you think about it as like scraping a lot of knowledge and condensing it for you, creating content, etc., so you can use it much easier because you give a very specific job to do. Agent, by definition, our view is that is gonna do some of your own jobs, right? So for example, let's say a DeFi trading agent is going to do a lot of the things for you, study what to buy, when to buy, how to buy, and do the transaction for you. Or maybe that Telegram agent or maybe that email agent is going to study what is going to be this, what is the urgency of the emails, some of them reply on your behalf, so on and so forth, right? So if you think about it, if it is replacing you, it is very personalized to you. The type of things that you do or you think is the right thing to do is maybe very different from what I do, right? And that
Yeah.
level of personalization is kind of AI agents to me is going to be a technology you need to be patient and grow it with yourself. It's not going to be like something out of the box that you use it, because it has to know a lot about you to be able to understand how to reply an email on your behalf, how, what is the sensitivity, when to bring you in, so on and so forth. It's like, think about like an executive assistant that you hire on day one. Even a great executive assistant is not going to be helpful to you, but after 6 months it's going to learn a lot and you work as a team together. So I think that's the part. So it's gonna be like, if you are adopting it with that mindset and the technology lets you to have a say in that, it's gonna be embedded in your life and you cannot live without it. Otherwise, you never create that bond. Now, with that perspective, maybe if we put it, I think decentralization and ownership, right? We can think about decentralization is another side. You own it and you create it, right? It becomes very important, because then you understand why should you invest in it, right? Because you have the ownership, and maybe if you cultivate it over several months, you can even earn money from it, right? So it
Yeah.
becomes your maybe agent that can create content, handle your Telegram channel, handle your X channel on your behalf, and others may use it too. So
Yeah.
with that sense, I think it becomes very important to bring the ownership to people to have a stake in it, in such a technology. Right. So
And
now I think that is the main barrier that I see. Is kind of, it should provide the tooling for you, personalize it, own it, so on and so forth. Now, I think your second part of question was what is gonna be a specific Web3 agentic systems that maybe
yeah.
we can own them, right? So with that, maybe I can mention two ideas that we are pushing for and we are very excited about, right? One of them is around the whole DeFi space. The reason being that Web3 is an open, right, system. So for example, if you were to do such a system, such an agentic system in Web 2, you have to do the entire system within your company. For example, who is going that direction is Robinhood. Robinhood says, I have the market, I have all of the stocks, etc. Now they are building more as the trading and the DeFi, so on and so forth, because they can control the ecosystem. The beauty of Web3 is you don't need to have all the components. There could be a DEX which is doing the market. There could be a wallet that can handle the transaction. There could be an agent that can study on-chain data, and you can put all of them together without having the capital or the ecosystem to own all of the components together. I think that's truly exciting about Web3 as an open ecosystem that you can do plug and play. Web 2 is very difficult unless you own the entire ecosystem, and only massive companies can do it. So that's one
Yeah.
area. The other one is around human and AI, right? If we feel it's not just going to be AI, it's going to be, all of the things that we are discussing, AI and human working together. For example, think about it as a social network, human and AI together. I think that's where we see maybe decentralization becomes very exciting, because many people can join, let's say, a channel where there is some agents, there are some people, they collaborate together for maybe creating a podcast, right? So those scenarios, and they own it together. I think that could be maybe some exciting and excitement around those human and AI collaboration. So these are the two
But
angles I
aren't
see, maybe different from Web 2. But go ahead, Prakash.
Robinhood folks were the one like on the GameStop industry, like they
Yeah,
pushed off people. I think they kind of stopped the short squeeze on the GameStop.
exactly.
But those people running a chain, like I don't know, like it's something which is like which is funny to me. Like if they can do that on a web 2 application, guess what, if they can roll back a chain as well. So I'm just, this is not a this is not a shot at the Robinhood team. They are doing great work, but it somehow makes me think like the charade we have of of decentralization, but ultimately the power stoops between few people on that. Like on your side, like I'm going to ask you specifically on Kite and Chain Opera side, what do you think are the most decentralized parts of your tools and offerings, and what do you feel that you would want to change, which is centralized right now, and you tend to use centralized services right now, and you would want to change it to a decentralized services as of now, like even on the business side, even on the analytics side, even on there is a lot of components when, and I think this is the best room to get, like don't hate me on this asking on this, but yeah, like to get the answers out. But what do you feel are the few things you would want to change where you're using centralized providers for that, and you would say, okay, if there is something robust enough, I would use a decentralized uh, tooling for that.
For us, I think some of the consistent high costs are often on the cloud side, and they're fairly dominant players in the market. And we're always kind of going through cost optimizations on what we can do there. So I would say that. Now, in terms of general decentralized, centralized, I'm very much about, like, I suggest a balanced approach. I always find that a fully decentralized organization, it's extremely difficult to coordinate behaviors, and kind of move the whole company towards common goals. This is a typical issue with a lot of decentralized companies. However, having, for example, from a security perspective, multiple validator nodes, or ways to kind of increase your security, increase your Nakamoto coefficient, etc. Those are always helpful. On the other side, I think working with large, we're also pursuing working with large enterprises. That basically, part of it is like, if you're looking for mass adoption, most of the users are in the normal world, and a lot of those enterprises are looking at how to grow, for example, the amount of like consumer agents, leveraging their existing, let's say, merchant footprint or user base. And so, it's kind of a balanced approach. One is there's blockchain for AI, which is basically, I think, why AI needs blockchain is a lot of it is that if you want greater agentic transactions, you do need payment rails that are blockchain based. And this is a heavily talked about topic. The other side is basically AI for blockchain. And so far, most of those AI agents have been more of the DeFi trading agents. And I think what they're really solving for is not the best user experience in DeFi when people are doing various DeFi trading activities. And so, like some of what was discussed before, there is an open ecosystem where you can create different types of trading agents, loop them together, and then put together a prompt for the user. So if I say, okay, I want to, find the best yield on, whichever platform, and then execute this swap and get me the highest staking yield, that can be done through an AI agent, which might be coordinating a lot of steps through underlying agents. So yeah, there's kind of a bit of both.
Yeah, I can maybe also give our take on this question. So for us, we have been building in this space at various layers for several years now. Maybe some of the audience know FedML. That was the pioneering open source library, the first open source library on federated machine learning. We started in 2019. At the same time, Google started TensorFlow Federated. Then we had TensorOpera, which goes one layer above on the platform layer. So that's going to be around providing a platform where decentralized GPUs can join, provide AI services, and you do model serving, model training, and right now Chain Opera, which is even one layer around at the app layer, where AI agents can work together. So in that sense, if you think about the AI stack, is really compute, data, model, agents. These are the 4 layers, and we have been working on making each of those layers decentralized for a variety of reasons. If you think about maybe the base layer compute, as Leila mentioned, cost is the main reason to make it decentralized. If you make it centralized, right, you have to go to AWS, and the cloud cost is going to be bankrupting many of the startups who want to scale their system. They cannot afford after they run out of the credits. And through decentralized compute, we offer much cheaper and affordable, as well as scalable infrastructure. So Leila, if at Kite you need more infra, we would be happy to help with that. Now, if we go to the maybe data layer, the reason for decentralization is to access the data that you cannot access in a centralized manner, right? So, for example, we see the bottleneck. For example, many of the companies, they use just copyrighted material for training their model and creating
Yeah.
tension. Do they really own it? Should they own it, etc.? Decentralization brings the stake that people can contribute their data while they get ownership, they get rewarded, yet helping creating better AI, right? So I think the quality at the data layer and the amount of private data that you can access, or kind of building the model together, become the reason. Now you go to the higher layer above, which is above the model, talking about the application layer, right? The reason for it is the utility. I think if you just keep building maybe one agent within your company, you have to maintain it. But what if there is going to be a variety of agents that can collaborate together, right? So in that sense, everybody is maintaining one piece of it at a high quality. For example, one person maybe just create, or one company may just do a wallet agent. That is the agent that
Yeah.
can integrate and access the wallet. Another one is creating a great agent that can do market study. Another one that can do automated trading. So putting all that together, you can create a much nicer utility driven super app. And I think
Yeah.
that's where we go from cost to quality to the utility that we are going to get. And maybe through these layers, right, we get to the ultimate AGI, which is going to be our AI companion for many tasks.
Coinbase has been onto that. Have you heard, like, they are changing their wallet app into something which is going to be more on the feed side, and also like multiple things they are doing, and I don't know like how successful it's going to be, like, but that's a step in that direction. And as you have both of you have mentioned high prices of like compute. Now, I have to do a short commercial break in which you will also be a part of. That we have launched Swear on AI, which is GPUs and VMs for people who want the cheapest VM out there. You can just go ahead and deploy it faster than any Solana transaction. So, yeah, you could just go deposit and deploy, and we have H100, H200, anything through aggregated through different data centers around the world. And we have been closely working with our partners, Chain Opera as well, and Kite AI as well. And we'll be happy to give our GPUs to them as well. And and that's what we do. I don't know, like that just came naturally to me when you said
Awesome.
like
In fact, we are the
because we get
layer
it.
in between, meaning that the way I view it is the deepin. You handle the GPUs. We are the layer at the platform for, let's say,
Yeah.
model training on those GPUs. That's the perfect, the timing and the synergy. Awesome.
Yeah, we love this. We love this Pharaon team and Chain Opera as well. And actually, we're about to make an announcement soon. But basically, there will be an AI app store, and we'd love to list both of you guys to offer your services to other AI builders and other projects in the ecosystem. And then also what we're launching as part of it, which was part of the reason I mentioned some of the things I did in the beginning, is that we're launching a Kite Pass, which is essentially a passport that agents can register, and what they'll get is a lot of that agent identity on chain, as well as the blockchain rails that allows for agentic payments. So we're actually we made this announcement already, but we are launching a chain using Avalanche's C chain stack, making some customizations to each layer to account for like AI compute and the amount of transaction volumes needed for agent calls. But all reasons to, very excited to work with both of you.
Avalanche has got a good number of builders right now. Like, have they done something special like uh in this short span of time? Because I saw the Akave team as well, and I saw that Kite is also doing that. Like, any specific reason like Kite is using Avalanche, or like is it tech centric, or how? What's the decision on that?
It was tech centric. It's EVM based, which just made it a lot easier for a lot of different builders, including ourselves. And then we did want to make various customizations to the chain level. And Avalanche has also kind of changed a lot of their recent, I don't know if many people necessarily know this in the market, but they went from their old subnet system into launching a series of sovereign L1. So we've had a really good experience with the team. They've been very supportive. They have a very strong ecosystem, and then the tech stack was also hugely helpful for us.
Yeah, and it's good to see like mega projects based out of like chains we know and familiar with. Something I'm very curious about in terms of like you guys have seen the so I'm going to tell you a recent news. I don't know, Salman, you are stuck. Is he stuck for me, or like?
I think he just has a stoic look.
Okay, yeah. No, he was stuck. He's back. Yeah.
I'm back. No, I changed the browser. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
Yeah. So there is, I don't know if you guys have heard. So CoreWeave is going out and getting like, is acquiring Core Science and buying most of the compute which is there, like in terms of data centers and a lot of compute being because it provides them friction in comparison to decentralized providers, right? Now that's a very far fetched step to take to acquire a company with I don't know, the deal size was more than like I don't know 8 billions or 9 billion. That's a very huge deal that is being operated right now, and they have acquired core scientific data centers all around the world. And does this kind of things possess danger for decentralized AI as such? Because if we run out of compute at the end, like right now, our bread and butter is via compute, right? And Kite and Genopra operates also on some level with compute, and like it's needed. And paying hyperscalers from your pocket whilst like you have to charge the customer as well and a lot of things around it. So do you really think like this is something which we are overthinking, or do you really think that there is a friction because of these hyperscalers and also a lot of companies which are like Microsoft, Google, and Azure specifically are creating a lot of ruckus for decentralized folks?
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually, Prakash. And kind of, I also fluctuate on that, the answer to that, right? There is going to be times that you feel, and maybe I tell you the reason that I think, it's unclear how the future is going to unfold. Okay, so maybe I tell you two scenarios that I can see. One scenario is, you see, all of this compute is being used, right, for serving and training gigantic models. And then the app
Yeah.
layer or the agent layer becomes a thin layer or a tooling layer that is built on top of those models. Okay, so in that sense, you would say whoever owns the best model, right, is going to dominate the industry. because then all of the apps is going to be built on top of that model. For example, if you are creating a great app, right, then you go for the best models to fuel your app. You have choices on the open source, choices on the closed source. Maybe closed source you go to OpenAI, open source you go to Meta, and they all have huge infrastructure to maintain it. Because if Meta there is not going to be a better and better llamas, then the developers will give up, right? So they should maintain it. That's the stake, or that's the promise that kind of Meta is pushing for. I'm going to keep the best open source model and keep making it better and better. So as an app builder, you can just upgrade your API to the best model that is going to be released in the future. So with
Yeah.
that regard, right, then maybe you can say, okay, the race is going to be dominated by whoever has enough compute to maintain and keep building those models. Then the other view is that no, that's going to become a standard, right? There is not going to be much of a difference between the two, the same way as whoever, like the chip layer is a standard, right? The reason that NVIDIA has the best chip and there is no, maybe AMD is the only rival, but most people H100, doesn't mean that they dominate the app industry. Right. So it's kind of in that view, you could say, okay, the model layer is going to also become commoditized, right? There is not going to
Yeah.
be much better, like the same way as there is not going to be every month better GPU, right? There is going to take maybe a
Yeah.
year or 2 years for a GPU. So it's not going to be
Yeah.
like it's a commodity. It's going to come better as the technology gets better, and then you will change it. So if then we believe in that, that the model layer is saturating, and all the utility and the power is going to be created around the tooling that you give to the models, to the super app and the agents collaborating together in that sense, right? Then who cares? I mean, is there going to be a utility pay that you bill that you pay the same way as you were doing the cloud fee? Now you do the model fee, right? And hopefully open source decentralization pushes the industry to keep the cost low. Otherwise they cannot. So it's going to be, commodity costs or infrastructure costs that you will pay through decentralization, hopefully lower costs, right? And then the main winners are going to be on the layer above, the same way as in the industry, internet industry, the app builders are the winners, not the
Does
infra
it
on
really
the
follow the
internet.
Moore's law still yet? Like, do you think Moore's law is still? You come from an academic background, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's embedded for me to ask. Like, are we really following the Moore's law till yet, or do you think we have uh, like uh, surpassed that in terms of application layer, and not on the chip side, but on the application layer? Like, are we really following that? Do you really think?
I think it's difficult to expand Moore's law, right, beyond there because it has a physical constraint for the Moore's law, right? So to expand it to the app layer. But maybe what I would say is that initially in the AI and the model layer, right, it was rapidly growing. The reason was, as we discussed, there was already a lot of available data, available compute. Now, at this
Yeah.
stage, the question is exactly what we discussed, the next model versus the previous model. When do we see the leap on that? I
Yeah.
think now it's becoming at the following a curve of its own, which is much slower than last year. Last year was the race of models. Every month you would hear, oh, wow, I have the best model that is beating everybody else. And that was the race. That race is saturated, I feel. The same
Yeah.
way as the race for building better chip, like you don't hear every month there is going to be a better chip that is dominating the other one.
Yeah.
So that's what I would expect. Maybe that's following similar trend. Maybe every year there is going to be a better model, and then everybody upgrades to that and uses it, but it's not going to be the dominant race to play.
Yeah. Because I think I really feel you on that, like, because we have been seeing a lot of application layer changes happening, but not on the model and on the, I don't know, like we are closing in on the last time, so I think I'm just gonna jump on the rapid fire, and I'm gonna leave my most of my research question to both of you on the chat. But this rapid fire is gonna be like, I'm gonna ask you a question, and you have to choose one option, and you have to just say like one thing. It's so this was already communicated to the speakers. I'm going to tell the viewers, so but you have to
Oh, I
choose it
haven't
but
read
not
it
the
though.
Oh, did it not? Okay.
No,
Uh,
no.
so it's going to be simple one option. Like you can choose one from both of these. So it's going to be like that. Centralized AI. Is it a one ticket to utopia or it's a one-way ticket to Skynet? What do you guys think?
I think it's very scary. So definitely not
So,
utopia for me. I could see it
Salman.
being bad. Yeah.
I go for the Skynet.
Oh, oh, everybody's scared of it. Okay. Decentralized AI, genius innovation or a playground for scammers and hype beasts?
Genius innovation.
I'm in between again. But there's less scammers and it's becoming, more and more synergistic and needed for the AI space.
Amazing. Will the first AGI project be more like a Terminator or a Wally?
I
For me,
think
neither.
probably actually, because we will have done a lot of mitigations in between such that it isn't this like dark, Darth Vader world. So I'm hoping it's Wally.
For me, it's neither because both of them has a physical component, right? They are like
Yeah,
robotic together with the AI. I don't think the physical and the robotic is yet there. It's gonna be a slower pace. I think it's gonna be more of a super software that it does many things of its own. So without having the physical component.
amazing. So this is the last one, okay? AGI alignment, is it a genuine global concern or just new tech scare?
I think it is a global concern. I mean, anywhere you go, people are worried about it, even Web2. It's kind of, we need the alignment between AI, human, even at the, as we discussed earlier, personal layer. Your agent should do what you think is right. So later you don't complain.
Yeah, I think massive fear out there. Biggest fear is that my job will be replaced by the tech that I create, my AI agent. That's the biggest fear out there and a depopulation. But I'm cautiously optimistic that we figure out that it's more like the industrial revolution where we develop the tools and the humans get smarter and evolve from there instead of, the other.
I'm kind of happy that AI is coming and taking jobs. Like I'll go and create art and do things which makes us more human. So I don't know. Like I am on the side. If you want my job, go ahead and take it. So yeah. But thank you so much, Salman and Lele. Like this has been a conversation very heartfelt, and you guys have been an absolute amazing guest to be on this panel. And so this is shill time. You get like exactly 1 minute to tell you about your project, what you're building on, something we should know or the viewer should know, and something you can cut and utilize for your own X handles as well. So go ahead and do that.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Lele.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like I said, more to come very soon. We'll be making some big announcements on the funding side, as well as a few key projects that are coming. So stay tuned. We'll be launching an AI app store as well as KitePass, and we'll be building towards a customized AI native chain.
Amazing. Salman.
And for us, I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, in terms of the intro on what we are building the super AI agent. That's where you can think about it as the infrastructure where agents could be created, could exist, collaborate together in a super app, AI terminal, for doing a variety of tasks. AI terminal, we released it about a month and a half ago. So it has been used by many people, but we encourage people to join, use the app. And then we are at the phase of onboarding many more agents. Currently, we have 500 agents submitted, and we invite developers to join our ecosystem to create these agents that are going to work and collaborate together in the terminal. In terms of what we are, moving fast to release, we want this to be utility driven. So people would use it for, and that's exactly the bottleneck. If you don't use it, it just becomes a hype, right? It should be used in your daily task, and that's what we are after, Right. So it's going to be a variety of around the social network that I mentioned, human AI social network, around DeFi trading that we are hoping people would be using it daily. And that's where what we are pushing very fast.
Amazing. And for Sweron, I'm going to last and add it in the end is that we're going DG in few weeks. That is something which is pretty big. Road to DG is already running, so it's amazing. Sweron AI is live. Our framework Skynet is live. I'm going to tell more about Skynet, like why we named it Skynet. We have gone like 1,000 times, but it's the good one for sure. And it's a no-code tool builder, so it's live. And team has been grinding for past few months to get things out there. And something which is fun, which is live right now, is Clippy, which is text to image and image to video. So all of these application layer is also live and you can utilize on Deepen Compute. Super happy to have a guest over here. Thank you so much for watching this. Follow Kite, follow Chain Opera, and have a good one. Until next episode. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Prakash.
much.
Thanks, Lele. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.